apparently he was really, really interested in Matthew Stafford, was watching him for weeks, kind of thought he was going to get him, was disappointed when the Rams got him. My question for you is, what was your takeaway from Kyle Shanahan's latest bombshell? Who would like to start, Waruna or Ben?
Ben should go first.
I can.
Ben, you go.
So I listened to this entire Kyle Shanahan podcast. Really recommend it if you haven't listened to it yet. It's a great listen. But what I will say about this whole Matthew Stafford thing is that I think the 49ers are in a good place with Trey Lance right now. I think they're on a good path. I think, like Grant has mentioned during the entire offseason, if this is the guy they were going to move up for, Trey Lance makes the most sense. But I think if the 49ers did end up trading for Matthew Stafford, I wonder how different things would have been right now. And I say that specifically because I'm thinking about how much draft capital the 49ers spent to go and move up to get Trey Lance, how much they had to give up, and considering the fact that the Rams, if you look at how much they actually gave up to acquire Matthew Stafford, the 49ers, they would not have had to given up all the draft capital they did for Trey Lance. So I guess when I look at this whole Matthew Stafford news, I'm not really disappointed, but I guess it's interesting because I think on the one hand, like I said, they're fine with where they're at with Trey Lance right now, but Matthew Stafford is $20 million this year. He's $23 million next season. He would be cheaper than what Jimmy Garoppolo is right now, and I think if the 49ers had held on to their draft picks, then maybe they pick Rashawn Slater number 12 and then Asante Samuel in the second round, and that's how you really round out your roster. So that's kind of where my mind goes with this whole Matthew Stafford news. Maybe they go and make a trade for a Julio Jones or something like that. So on the one hand, I understand why everyone's freaking out. I think it makes a lot of sense that Kyle was really into Stafford, but I think my mind more goes towards how different would life have been for the 49ers right now, and who would be on this team right now. I think that's really interesting.
Good answer.
Yeah, for me, I think this really kind of erases any doubt that the 49ers were looking to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, really from the end of the regular season. They had in mind that they wanted to make a move on and go after somebody else, and Stafford just happened to be the guy. We saw this throughout the offseason with the 49ers being linked to the quarterbacks. In free agency, it was Andy Dalton, who Kyle Shanahan was reportedly real interested in during free agency period. Then you had Mitchell Trubisky's name mentioned. Then went into the, after that, he started getting closer to the draft. You had, the interest possibly in Teddy Bridgewater, and then that turned into Sam Darnold. And I think all of this, and then eventually after all this was done, the 49ers needed to cover their missteps throughout this, offseason. And that's where the trade for the picks to move up to number 3 and give up all that draft capital for Trey Lance comes into play. And, kind of going with what Ben said, if you wanted to take a look at this, they could have given up 2 draft picks and Jimmy Garoppolo for a quarterback that would give you a lower cap hit than Garoppolo, who's going to be a better quarterback than Garoppolo. And they would have been able to keep almost all of their draft picks outside of that. They still would have had their second, third, and so on. So think about having Matthew Stafford as your quarterback for a lower cost in 2021 and 22, a guy that can put you right in the square of the thick of 49 Super Bowl contention, and then going out and using your third round draft pick instead of on Trey Sermon, you go out and use Kellen Mond. So now you've got your quarterback for the now, and you've got your quarterback for the future. So I think there's a lot to be looked at with this, and it really comes down to all boils down to the Garoppolo and all this talk we're hearing about him being the quarterback this year. Really is it's not any more than just talk.